Okay, people. So, yeah, just caught an interesting feature debut, right? It's called Intervention, and it is from Samesh Ramjattan. Now, Samesh, he wrote, directed, he co-wrote the film with Tiffany Flynn. Okay, he also produced it. We have got our cast as um, Amber Doig-Thorne. Um, she plays Laura, right? We've got Heather Ellis Nelson as Carly, Jasmine Rochelle as Diana, Laura McGuinness as Olivia, and Lucia France as Sophie. There's also Bibi Lucille. She plays a character. We won't say who. Um, and yeah, the gist of the film is this: Laura Green suffers from amnesia after a near fatal attack, causing her memories to be erased every night once she goes to sleep. Each morning, she must reacquaint herself, painstakingly piecing together fragments of her jagged past from cryptic clues on her computer. When her friends video call her to celebrate her birthday, reminding her of a life she cannot recall, she becomes suspicious. Are they being completely truthful? Are they even her real friends? Laura soon learns that her friends are not who they say they are, and the truth behind her attack harbors the key to a sinister twist to her own identity. Yeah, that's it, man. So, you know, Samesh, uh, he did a director's statement, right? So it says this: I am fascinated by our relationship with technology, especially our modern identities and how they are immersed in and influenced by it. I thought of Christopher Nolan's Memento and asked myself, how would I tell that story today? With Intervention, I wanted to tell a story about a character whose memory slate is wiped clean, and she has to rebuild her persona with fragments from the digital world around her. But could that world be trusted to reflect the truth of who she really is? Which, I definitely feel that's interesting. And it's an interesting film because, hey, I ain't gonna lie. At the beginning, I was super frustrated because there was things I was seeing, and I was like, yo, that makes no, like, how is that not being addressed? Right? What the fuck is going on? And other things that just kind of threw me, and it was a bit weird, right? Because we have Laura. Well, we have this blank screen, right? Well, a white squirrely kind of situation, and we hear a voice, right? We hear a voice, and you're like, well, what the fuck is this? Then we have Laura, right? She's by a computer and she's like looking at files, trying to work things out. And man, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, firstly, that does not look a comfortable bed, right? Because we see it occasionally go lie down on the bed, and you're just like, yo, that ain't a comfortable bed, man. You know what I mean? Like, yo, it's all about the mattress. You know what I mean? And that was some thin ass mattress. So that just it threw me, right? Because you don't think it makes any sense, right? Why is someone buying a shit bed like that? You know? It's these little things sometimes. Then her friends jump in, right? She's watched this video that she recorded for herself, and her friends jump in and be like, happy birthday and all of this jazz. But there's a thing like, some of the speech patterns seemed a little bit off, right? So you're noticing this weirdness, and it's just like, yo, what the fuck? Like, I don't get what's going on here. But as the story unfolds, a lot of this does actually become clear, right? You then realize some of the things that are behind some of the things that you may have noticed, right? Maybe you didn't, I don't know. But yeah, it's these things kind of coalesce, as it were. And you're like, okay, right. Yes, that's intriguing, man. It is intriguing. Now, I do feel, what Samesh says about Memento, because I love that. That's such a great, you know what I mean? You start feeling bad for my man, and then at the end, you're like, yo, you're a piece of shit. Like, what the fuck, son? Memento was great. And I think the difference about trying to make, like, say, Memento with the digital, right? Because there's a lot of different factors that jump into this, right? So we have her talking to these friends all the way through the film, and there's moments when it's just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Are you? And it's just like someone will just cancel that call, right? Now, if you're in front of someone, there's ways people can stop you from, like, running off. But if you're online, you can press cancel, right? It's like people can block each other on social media and things like that. So it just changes the dynamics of interactions, them finding information, because there's Google and just all of these other things, right? So there's ways to search, there's ways to track things down and all of that. So it does change the parameters. I don't think some of that was always addressed, right? Because, as I said, look, the conversation goes on, and you're like, I feel that that person would have just cancelled. I feel they would have just ducked out, you know? But it is, man, the way this story goes, right? The little twists and the turns, it does get spicy, man. You're like, yo, okay, okay, interesting. I did not think that was gonna happen. Yeah, there's definitely things that, here, that you're like, wait, what the fuck? Wait, that happened? How the yo? Okay. And you, like, so some of the like the reactions from people, and their mannerisms, it makes a lot of sense once everything has, kind of come clean, right? You definitely get it, and that's fun. That's a lot of fun. I do think sometimes the dialogue isn't always the best, right? Certain words get used, just the way things are framed, and it's a bit like, I don't feel someone in that situation is going to be like all mad structured, or like, oh, blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? That was it. But it's only in certain instances. Like, it wasn't throughout a constant thing where you're just like, yo, that needs to. There's the little kind of, dialogue threads that you do wonder about at the start, they feed into the story, right? So that makes sense. So you're like, yo, that's okay, right? I see that now. And you notice those things, like the kind of curtain draws back, throughout. So it's not like you have to wait to the end and then you're like, no, like throughout, little breadcrumbs, little things become clear, and you're like, okay, right, interesting. Tell me more, tell me more. So that's all good. Uh yeah, there's a few times people, just a few times. Again, it's not across. There's a little bit of overacting from some people in some of the sequences, but yeah, I kind of get it, because it's trying to do certain things, right? Which is a difficult one, and especially when it's, you know, via video rather than people in a room and doing a thing and just all of that kind of jazz. So there is all of that. So yeah, it's really interesting. It really is. The one thing that it did throw me a little bit is the because as I said, look, there's these conversations all the way through. So they're, because it's remote, right? We're kind of looking at a Zoom chat, as it were. Um, and the layout changes a lot, right? So how you get the Zoom, and sometimes you have like one big image and then the smaller people along the top who's in it. Like that kept on changing, you know? And it's a bit like, can we, what I mean? Can we stick with one? Because you keep on changing. That's really just like, just stop. You're doing my head in a little bit. Now I get why, because it's just like, oh, if we're looking at this thing, let's try and change it up so people don't get bored. But I feel there might have been a better way of doing it, you know? But again, for a first feature, yeah, Samesh, he's done a very, very interesting job here, especially to tell this story in the way he has. You know, like, is it a modern Memento? It's not quite, but hey, you know what I mean? Like, why not try and reach something, right? Set that high bar to be like, yo, I want to do this, right? And also, you're not doing that in your first film, you know what I mean? But hey, as I said, look, he definitely made an intriguing story with plot twists that you don't necessarily see coming, right? Now, that's something. There's a lot of times you can see a plot point, right? You can be like, oh, obviously that. Now, there's certain things that you might go, I feel, but then there's other details that you're just like, oh, I wouldn't have thought that, right? That's too gully, man. I wouldn't have thought that. So, yeah, this is intriguing as fuck, man. It is intriguing as fuck. So, uh, yeah, intervention. Intervention, people. Do you want to yeah, do you want to see what creepy shit could be happening in a small little town called Maya? I don't know. Either way, it's one of those, right? Well, you can get it on digital or your favorite VOD, you know, right now. So yeah, there's a lot of crazy shit, people. There really is. So, hey, as I said, look, it's definitely a good first feature. I think a lot of people might envision Host, right? That dropped at the beginning of lockdown 2020. It's not, they're not really the same film, you know. So I don't think you can really make a comparison. But yeah, this is it's gonna have you it's gonna have you thinking, man. It's gonna have you thinking for sure. So if you like a kind of a thriller, right? Modern thrillers with a technological kind of twist, kind of a tilt to them, then I think Intervention may be the film for you people, right? So yeah, there you go. Now all links in the episode information, you know how we do. So yeah, there you go, people. Intervention.